Location, location, location. That's what we're here to talk about in this episode of MPTV. Today we sit down with Kelly Gray, the Vice President of Rapid Fire Pizza and Hothead Burritos, to talk about real estate and the restaurant business. She's been in the profession for 15 years and done a lot of leases, a lot of purchases, and can help you make the right decisions on your leases. Let's go find out. Hey, what's up? It's Matt. We're back with another episode of MPTV, and we are sitting here with the Vice President of Hothead Burritos and Rapid Fire Pizza, Kelly Gray. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing amazing. Yeah. So I guess tell everybody who you are, what you do, and your background.
Yeah, so I am the Vice President of Rapid Fire Pizza and Hothead Burritos, also a founder of Rapid Fire Pizza. Been in it for, 5 years. Rapid Fire's been around now. I kind of focus on the real estate, legal, a little bit of the liquor license work, kind of a variety of things.
So the real estate part got me intrigued.
Yes.
Because I had a buddy of mine that was telling me one day, he's like, Matt, it seems like you always see great places that you think are open for restaurants, but then you realize there were 7 restaurants there before, and you wonder, is that really a great place? So let's talk about real estate and how to pick it, how to find it. What are some things that you deal with franchisees?
Yes.
And that's, that can make or break you, right?
Right. And I've been in commercial real estate for about 15 years, so I have a lot of experience. I've worked with a lot of, both on the landlord and tenant side, publicly traded restaurant companies, so I understand the ins and outs of how all of that works. The most important thing for an operator is to really understand who your customer is, where your traffic is being driven from. For us and our brands, we have found that being on a Walmart pad is not the best choice for us. Some brands swear by it. It just kind of depends. Understanding your client. When are they coming to you? Are they drive-bys? Is it highway traffic driven? So there's a lot of different things to think about. One of the other things, as you said, is when there's been 7 different restaurants there, or I get a lot of people call me and say, hey, I'm interested in this site. Well, it leased out way before the other tenant went dark, meaning closed down. Yeah. So you have to, having a good commercial real estate agent working and helping you is extremely important to know about those things that are available before they go empty.
I love the aspect of dealing with a professional. I think too many times entrepreneurs think they can do it all. Mm-hmm. They can do their own taxes. They can, they don't want to be their own attorney.
Right.
But I've got friends in commercial real estate, in residential real estate.
Right.
It's like you enlist there because they have insight. They understand things you might not know about the history of it.
Right. And with a real estate agent, generally the landlord is the one who's paying.
Yeah.
Is paying the agent. You're not paying it, so you get to use them for free.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think is really interesting is people think that they have to own the real estate where their business is. You don't have to do that. You can tie it up for 20 years, and then as population shifts and moves, then you move to where the next cool hip place is.
Yeah. The part about location intrigues me because I had a friend of mine years ago, and the restaurant still is in operation. They opened a restaurant up thinking, it's near this mall. It's a great location. And neither one of them lived near there. I did. Mm-hmm. And when they were opening, I was scratching my head the whole time. Okay, I'll trust them. These guys are restaurant people. They know what they're doing. They found it real quick in the wrong place because I found out they weren't on I call the honey-do list.
Yes.
That when I'm driving home a lot of nights, my wife calls me and says, hey, what's for dinner? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't know. And I look, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
We're going to Hothead.
Right.
They aren't on that road. They're on a road that connects a main road to the mall, and nobody's ever on it unless you're going to the mall. And so I think a lot of times, our perception of what a good location is, because we might drive down there occasionally, isn't always the truth, as like you said, the traffic patterns.
Mm-hmm. Right, and like you said, if it's on the honey-do list, is it on the right side of the honey-do list?
Yeah.
And do I have to cross a divided median to get to it? Well, then I have to circle back, and I'm not doing that. I'll hit the next one down the road. So it's really important.
Are there some tools outside of the real estate professionals you've used to analyze traffic or to understand traffic?
Yeah, the traffic counts nowadays, especially, is most of the departments of transportation. You can go on their websites and you can find what you need a lot of times. Okay. A good demographic service, again, a realtor can provide it to you. I don't necessarily trust a landlord to provide it to me. Not that they're trying to be deceitful, but I pull all of the demos for all of our restaurants myself. So I'm at least going from the same source. Whether it's a good source or bad source, I don't know, but I have consistency in what I'm looking for. But understanding your demographics. And it's extremely important if you're going to go lease something for 5 or 10 years, or if buying is your thing, go sit in the parking lot.
Watch.
Count cars. Watch the traffic. Watch where people are going. Are they stopping or are they not stopping? Is the road just too busy and people will not stop?
Yeah, that, not in the commercial world, but that happened to me residential. We almost bought a house about 10 years ago. Wife was in love with it. It was on this golf course, a lake. Everything was perfect. Had a pool, school district. And I'm like, okay, I'll go look at it. And I went, and we went and looked at it once. It was great. The second time I went to look at it, I happened on the front porch. And I'm just watching cars go by. And I mean, just, we lived on a cul-de-sac then, we still do now, and I'm like watching cars, and I asked her, I said, Mary Lou, where are these cars going? She goes, oh, this is they opened up the one back of the subdivision. This is people cut through here to go back to this neighborhood now. And I'm watching, I'm like, we were 2 young kids. We ain't living here, Christy.
Right.
And that was a deal killer because of that reason.
Yep.
But same thing in the commercial real estate. Sit out there and watch where they're coming from.
Right.
So in talking about leases, what are some things that, I mentioned earlier a story where I had a friend of mine in the restaurant business that later found out about some fraud in their CAM charges later on in the life of the restaurant, and came to fruition, actually getting it fixed. But what are some things you've seen with regards to leases, what to look for, what to pay attention to?
Right. So first, kind of the lingo. So you said CAM. CAM stands for common area maintenance. So it's maintaining everything around that shopping center. And it's kind of used interchangeably with triple net, NNN, triple net. And what that really means is the CAM, real estate taxes, and then exterior property insurance.
Okay.
So kind of making sure that when somebody quotes you a price, did they include all that? Because sometimes they want to quote just the rent, but you got to write a check for all of it. So you got to understand what your expenses are. Or does the landlord expect you, if you're in a single tenant building, are you hiring your own landscaping, snow plowing contractor? So understanding what exactly is spelled out in the lease. But one of the most important things I would recommend is getting a real estate attorney to look at your lease. You don't get your divorce attorney. You don't get the person who did your trust. You get someone who understands real estate transactions. I had actually one of our franchisees used someone. I thought, okay, they brought their attorney to me. They were in the real estate title business. I'm like, great, this should be fine. Not fine, not at all. They understood transactions as far as buys and sells, but leasing is a totally different animal. So you want to make sure that you're protected with your base term, and that you have options to renew, and that I personally want to make sure that the rent rates are spelled out for your options.
Okay.
I don't like the word market rate. Well, who's determining market rate? Do I have to fight with you later to determine what that market rate is? Who's maintaining the HVAC? Generally that's going to be a tenant in a retail strip center. You're going to have to take care of the plate glass in front of the space. What's going to be built into those CAM fees? Do they get to charge you a 15% management fee just for just for them being able to send you a bill once a year on it? You need to make sure what all is going to be included. We were talking earlier about someone that you knew who they basically had, and I would consider him an anchor tenant, a movie theater. And a lot of times anchor tenants don't pay CAM taxes and insurance or pay a reduced amount, and that's pushed over to the smaller tenants. Well, you need to understand that. Make sure in your lease that it actually has the exhibit that shows the shopping center, because maybe you get an exclusive for your type of restaurant here, but oh wait, the landlord owns all of this, and they put a competitor right next door. And some landlords will put a competitor next to you in a heartbeat and won't think twice.
Okay, break time. Restaurateurs, it's Matt. And if you're watching MPTV, you're obviously interested in improving your business. What if I told you could finally take the hope and pray out of your marketing plan and spend money and see results? You see, most marketing starts with the same exact tactic. You gain the attention of somebody, but that's where the majority of it stops. What we do with the ROI engine is help you gain amazing attention, which drives gigantic engagement. That engagement leads to customers to tell us who they are, meaning they opt into your email, text, and birthday program and then we drive them to buy something. We've got a lot of great programs that can help you, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. If you're interested, it's easy. Check out roiexperts.net. You can schedule an appointment and we'll hop on a call with you. Worst case scenario, you learn how to market your restaurant like you've never heard of before. Back to the action.
Yeah, the spot, we have a gym that I'm a partner in, and the spot that we're in, it was a lot of things you just said were exactly right. And it was funny because he actually is a pretty good landlord, and he had all that spelled out. He laid out the plot and said, hey, because when we went and looked at his property early on, it was a great piece of property. He goes, well, unless you can afford to pay 40 grand a month the next year and a half, I can't let you in here. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, well, we have Gold's Gym was in here, and their lease isn't up for 18 months. And they're $40,000 a month what they're paying. If I put you in there,
right,
I void that.
Right.
And so it was interesting to see that. The other side of it, I recently signed a lease, I guess a year and a half ago, on an office building that I have for my company. And I hired my attorney and gave him the lease because that's not my language.
Right.
And one thing I found out, because he came back to me with, of course, attorneys with a million things.
Yes.
And I was real hesitant to go back to the landlord because it was a space I wanted. Everything looked pretty good to me, but there were all these little weird things in there about maintenance of the HVAC unit.
Right.
There was actually lingo in there that said if this part of the building caught on fire, I was at and Jim pointed all these things out. And so I went back to the landlord and said, hey, this is my notes from my attorney, everything highlighted. And he looks and he goes, that was all in there? I go, yeah, why? He goes, that's the lease that I guess he used another company to help him. That's just their stock lease, I guess. He's like, doesn't matter. It was funny because these are things I was kind of
afraid to approach them
Yeah.
about. You can't be afraid to ask. I mean, the worst case is if you ask and they say no, then you just have to look at it and say, okay, can I live with this?
Yeah.
What's the probability of this actually coming to fruition, and is it going to hurt me later?
Because that's the tough part in this business for me, and I can imagine the restaurant. You got a person that's a restaurant operator, or they're opening their first restaurant, and they've got this idea, they know it'll work, and they find a location. And by the time they get the lease in their hands, they've already told their friends, they've took a picture of it, they've drawn out a million maps, and now they're just bummed because there's like all these things. But you got to be honest with the other party and try and come to something that works.
Right. And this is a business deal that you're doing. Don't be in love with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it's 5 minutes from my house. I don't care if it's 5 minutes from your house. You don't want it an hour and a half from your house, but it's like you want the best location. You don't want the thing that's the most convenient for you. You want it to be the one that you can make the most money, that your customers will come in, that you can be happy. You want to be able to, if the facility is set up wrong and you're trying to backfill a former restaurant, for example, and the line is wrong, the bathrooms are in the wrong place, you can't make it flow the way you want to, well, you either have to live with it and change your concept, or you're going to spend a lot of money, modifying it, and maybe it's best just to start with a blank slate and get what they call a white box.
So what has been the biggest learning curve for you? From you were in commercial real estate, you said for 15, you've been in the restaurant business now for 5 to 6. What's been your biggest learning curve from the restaurant aspect of it?
So the interesting thing is, I have always done retail and restaurant work in my real estate career. So that's what I've always specialized in. So this was kind of
right,
kind of a natural progression or not. But I think it made me a worse realtor because I realized the risk that's involved. I mean, we had a restaurant that closed, and we had a restaurant we had to relocate because the sales were horrible, and we put everything we could into it, and it just wasn't working. And now I know how horrible that can be. And when I hear people like, I'm going to take all the money out of my IRA and I'm going to just go for it, I'm like, I want to make sure you have enough money and you really realize what you're doing, because there's risk.
Yeah.
There's a lot of risk. But if you play it safe, don't think you can outperform the market by doing better sales than what's in your industry. Read the trade magazines, understand what's going on, understand the trends. It's really important.
Restaurant owners, did you know Matt has free online marketing courses that teach you how to successfully market your restaurant? Email support@mattplapp.com to get access to the courses and a free social media content calendar.
Final thoughts. You're talking to owners and operators. You're talking to somebody that wants to open a franchise.
Right.
What's one piece of advice you would give them that you think will pay dividends down the road to help them be successful in the restaurant business?
I think one of the most important things is to really is to watch your expenses related to the real estate piece of it. Understand, real estate taxes can be extremely expensive, so understand your rent, understand your tax piece of it, and make sure that you're not overpaying. Now, that doesn't mean to save $1 a square foot, you go on a side street. That means, all right, what's this $1 a square foot really mean? Get the best piece of real estate that you can with the best visibility. Think about where your competitors are. Think about if your competitor could come into the market and outposition you.
Okay. And so when you're thinking about those fees, you're looking at real estate taxes, CAM fees, and understanding everything that you're going to have to pay, because if it might be $2,500 or $5,000 a month is the lease. Right. But it might end up being 7 or 8.
Yeah. And depending on your, what exactly piece of the industry that you're in, 8% of your sales is where you should be targeting your rent to be. Okay. So if you're projecting your sales to be $1 million, well, it's one thing. If it's 50, if you're expecting 500,000 or 200,000, it's something totally different. Don't think that you're gonna, get $1 million location, and your budget, and you're only gonna do 200,000 in sales. That's gonna be a big problem. You're never gonna be able to make it.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, there we go. Wrapped up another episode of MPTV. One of the episodes we talked about checklists. Now we're talking about professionals. Hire somebody to help you do what you don't know how to do to make sure that you're able to do what you do a lot longer. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.